Hey everybody, Donnie coming back at you. So Deuce needed a place to put his lead and his bag for when we walk out the door. And now he's all excited because I'm standing here next to his leash and stuff, and he thinks we're headed somewhere. Well, came up with a quick solution, simple coat rack that you can build in a day or so, and a really quick, easy project. So we thought we'd share it with you. Hang in, and we'll have some plans on the site at DonnieCarter.com, and we'll get right to it. Okay, so we're just going to start off real quick by taking some rough dimensions and get some things to width. We're going to cut them up on the miter saw real quick, get this rough edge off this board and get it trimmed up. Head over to the table saw, and I'm just simply ripping things to their correct width. The back braces, upper and lowers, the front brace, and I'm just ripping them to the dimensions you see in the plans. That's easily downloaded at my website, DonnieCarter.com. Cutting the top shelf to the correct dimensions. Pretty simple again. It could be cut with a skill saw, jigsaw, or a hand saw. Now we're back over at the miter saw. We're going to take and cut the two side pieces and get those laid out so we can get ready to start cutting the curves in it. One thing, hindsight, I should have realized that I could have taken and stacked the two side pieces together to make things a little bit easier when I get ready to cut them out. But the first thing I did was basically just marked a few center points, took a paint can and gave myself a radius that I pretty much liked. Once I got that radius, I just simply connected the dots, drew some lines, and kind of sketched things the way I wanted it to look. For some reason, I did not remove an extra line and caught myself as I was cutting. I decided to start taking the wrong line. So, you know, I usually have a habit of scribbling over the top of the line so where it's easy to see which line to cut and which line not to cut, but I didn't do it. So once the line's cut on the bandsaw, I headed over to the sander, and this is what I'm talking about. I could have stacked both of the boards together at the same time and cut them on the bandsaw. They would have been really close. Then I could have put them together, kept them together, and put them on the sander. And it wouldn't have been so much material I have to remove at one time on the sander. So once I realized that, I went ahead and stacked them together, taped them up with some blue tape, painter's tape, and got on the sander and just started getting everything trued up the best I could. It really would have made a big difference to cut them both at the same time on the bandsaw. But this is something that I'll learn and remember, and next time it won't happen if I have to make a couple pieces. So they cleaned up really good. You know, no harm there. It worked out fine. Now I'm taking the braces, the front and rear braces, the rear upper and lowers, and the front, and I'm basically marking some center points and lines where I want the pocket holes to go. Now, if you notice, this is the wider shelf. This is for the top. And I'm starting to mark out and drill for my pocket holes. And we will see here shortly that hindsight definitely is 20/20, because once I start assembling things, I'm going to realize that I shouldn't have drilled the holes where I drilled them. Now, at this point, I have no idea about that because I didn't do enough dry fitting, I guess, before things were kind of drilled, just to make sure things were working out the way I wanted them to. But so I'm just getting to town here, drilling out some holes and putting everything perfectly where I wanted, and everything was symmetrical and laid out exactly like it needed to be. It just happens to be that they are going to be in the wrong spot. But you live and you learn. That's what this is all about. I'm now taking the back brace, the upper back brace, and I am putting in a few marks for some finish nails. I'm going to actually cut the finish nails off, epoxy them into these holes that I'm going to drill halfway into the back, and that's what I'm going to use to hang my coat rack. There's not going to be a lot of weight on it. I don't plan on stacking a whole bunch of things on it. It's going to be very light and easy to do. So you'll see in a few minutes how I do that. This is the upper back that I've drilled the pocket holes in, and I'm now attaching them into one of the sides. I'm actually got this secured in my vise. You don't need a vise to secure this in. As you'll see in a few minutes, I decided to actually do it on top of my bench because it was a little bit easier. Just make sure that when you're lining these up that you have them secure, because the glue does act like a lubricant in a sense that it causes it to slip a little bit and things can go out of alignment just the second before you get the screw into the other board, and it causes things to move around a little bit. But as you can see here, it's really easy just to set things up on the top of the bench, hold a fair amount of pressure on it, and just drill everything together with these 1¼ Kreg screws, which is exactly what's designed for 3/4 material. Now I'm attaching the other side of the side panel to the upper back brace. Pretty straightforward. Now we're moving to the lower back brace. Same principle here. Same issue with the screws. Make sure that this thing doesn't slide around on you because it will move around a little bit. What I decided to do on the lower rear bracket and the front bracket is I decided to give it a little bit of a reveal. Meaning that the lower portion of the long side of the back bracket is going to be about 1/4 inch away from the sides. It just adds a little bit of symmetry to the thing, I guess you could say. It just adds a little bit of a shadow line, and it gives it just a little bit better look than just being completely square, even edges all the way around. So it really does make a huge difference. And once again, just simply make sure that everything is offset to the way that you want it. Take a pencil and mark it if you need to, like I did, just to make sure you have a reference, because this stuff moves around a little bit with the glue. It's a little slippery, and you know, it could cause things to be out of line a little. Now we've moved over to the front brace, the front shelf support, I guess it will be. And just marking a few lines where I think things need to be. My reveal itself, I just want to give it that little bit of an extra look, just to give it that little bit of a shadow line, a little offset when things are attached and put together. And now I'm just basically repeating the same thing on the other side, making sure that things don't move around too much from the glue. Now we move over to the top shelf, and I really quickly realized that I've drilled the holes in the wrong spot. I should have actually drilled the pocket holes on the sides and the braces themselves, the upper, rear, and front, so where they can screw up into the shelf. There was really no way for the shelf to screw in to the sides. I tried to make it work a few times and it just didn't look right, so the pop was really cheap, so I grabbed me another piece of it. Drilled the holes with the pocket screw, the pocket jig in the correct locations, added a few screws, and it really helped. Here's where I cut off the finish nails for my hanging. Choose what method's appropriate for you guys. If it's something heavy is going to be on it, just use the correct size hanger that you need to hold what you need to hold. After a little bit of sanding and cleanup, blowing a few things off, I'm using some decent latex primer in Paint and One, and it came out really nice. I sanded in between coats, and it really turned out nice. Here I've chosen a few bronze-colored, I think is what they call it, like a bronze, brushed bronze coat hook that I picked up at Home Depot for a few bucks a piece. I'm spacing them out where I think they look good for my, and work great for my purpose. Of holding a few dog leashes, some sweatshirts, a jacket here now and again, and just pre-drilling a few holes. Make sure that you do something to know the depth of your drill bit. Add a piece of blue tape or something similar to allow you to give a depth stop. So you know when it's brushing off the dust or the shavings right off the board, you know you're deep enough. Use a hand screwdriver or a power driver to put the screws in. And let's get this bad boy hung on the wall. Hang it up according to your location. Make sure you use a level and load it up with a few things. Be sure to visit DonnieCarter.com for the free plans. And I thank you guys very much for watching.